Hello, I am Jo, and welcome back to the Single Society podcast. This is the space where we look at being single through a more positive lens and explore what being single may mean for you. Now, if you have just landed on this episode and you're discovering this podcast for the very first time, this is the second episode in a 7-part series. There are normally new episodes at least every Thursday, but I also release 7-part series on a particular theme. Now, they will specifically look behind the scenes of singles nights. So, if you are interested in coming along to a singles night, if that's something you've been considering, this is a great one for you to listen to. It's going to help give you a flavour of what to expect and what not to do at an event. At the moment, the singles nights are running in Manchester, in Preston, and in York, and I will pop a link in the event description so that you can see what is coming up in each of those places. We're expanding all the time, so do have a look and see if there's anything else near you as well if you're not in one of those places I just mentioned. The first 7-part series on this podcast was looking at consent, specifically in relation to singles nights. So when you've listened to this one, you may want to go back and explore those episodes as well. Consent is obviously something that is incredibly important and there's a lot to explore when it comes to singles nights, a lot to unpack there. This series of 7 is all about common mistakes that people that make at singles nights. So as I say, I've been running them for a number of years now, and it is really interesting to see behind the scenes. There are definitely repeated themes when it comes to common mistakes that people make. The first episode in this 7-part series was looking at why it is an error to come very late to a singles night, as counterintuitive as that may seem. That episode is also available for you to listen to. And there's another 5 after this coming your way. So if you've yet to follow or subscribe, it is definitely worth doing that now. This episode is going to focus very much on why it is a mistake, or it is a very common mistake I see, for you to downplay the reason you came to a singles night. Let me just say that one more time. So, it's a mistake to downplay your motivation for coming to the singles night. So what I mean by that is something I see people do quite often is, I just came along for a laugh, or my friends badgered me into it, or my family made me come along, or I'm just here because my friend's here and I just want to support her or want to support him. Essentially, what you're doing is you're trying to almost give an excuse, if you like, for the reason that you're there. And, it's very, very human. People tend to do it because they don't want to seem too keen, too invested, too eager. It's a mistake. Trust me, it is such a mistake for a number of reasons, which I will explain for you now. The big one is that you are having that conversation with somebody else who has chosen to come to the singles night. So they've made the exact same choice that you have. There is no need to play it down. You're both there, you're both at a singles night because you're looking for a potential partner. And that's a really brave and beautiful thing. That's a decision that should be owned, not, cringed away from. At its worst, that can come off as quite offensive and insulting to the person that you're talking to, because you're kind of saying, I don't really care, but I've been made to come, which makes them think, oh, well, thanks very much, because I have also chosen to come and want to be fully invested in this event. So there's the risk that you're going to cause offence. The other thing is that when people say that, it signals to the person that you're talking to that you're actually not that open to meeting somebody, even if in fact you are. The vast majority of the times when I hear people say this, I will chat to them or they'll come and find me and they won't mean it. They'll actually be very keen to meet somebody and they'll have put a lot of thought and effort into attending the event. But then because they've downplayed it and they've sort of made an excuse for why they're there, that then comes off as them not taking it seriously. So the other person is just going to think, oh, well, okay, I won't waste my time talking to you then. If you've just been persuaded to come, then you're not a potential match for me. So if you say it without meaning it, it creates a situation where you're really not getting the best out of the event. there's no reason for you to explain why you're at the event. It's self-evident. It's a singles night. Everybody is there for the same reason. And because of that, it's a really safe and a really inclusive space. So you never need to give a reason for it. The only thing you may want to do potentially is, if and when it's appropriate, if you're getting on with somebody well, you can feel that there's a spark, there's an energy between you, you might want to then be clear about what it is you are looking for. So, are you kind of newly getting back into dating? Are you looking for a more serious relationship? Do you envisage a family in your future? That may or may not feel appropriate on the night. It just depends how the conversation is flowing and what the energy is between the two of you. So you might want to give some context as to what's brought you to the event and why it's important for you to be there. But please, whatever you do, don't downplay your reasons for being there. It can be offensive to the other person and it means that you won't get the best out of the night. You want to be seen seriously as a potential match for people, or why else be there? So please do fully make the most of it. Now, there are another 5 episodes coming up in this series, all looking at the behind the scenes of common mistakes I see people make. So if you haven't yet subscribed or followed, I highly recommend that you do that. And if you have any thoughts on these episodes as they're coming out, or indeed the other ones outside of this series as well, please do always feel free to comment. It's great to hear from you and great to get your perspective. If you are interested in coming along to a singles night, those details are linked in the description. Don't downplay it. There's every reason to have a great time when you're there, so just show up and enjoy it. And I'll catch up with you in the next podcast episode. See you then.